Hey everybody, I'm Heidzalyn with ETOPIA Live here with St Josh. How's it going today, Josh?
Going pretty good. I'm so grateful to be here with you today and discuss. Yeah.
So today we are talking about pain points for producers. And I was hoping to have an image here for you. We went live, like I pushed the wrong button. It happens sometimes. So here we go. Episode 2, music producer pain points. Is what we're talking about today. And St. Josh, you are a producer. So I feel like you're qualified to kind of talk about some of these pain points. I feel like there's so much responsibility for a producer to be able to be a very strong leader and a very good communicator, to be able to help everyone who's collaborating on that song
Yeah.
be able to serve the song in the best way possible.
Yeah.
So, as you're doing that, as you're leading people, what do you feel are some of the hardest parts about it?
Yeah. Okay. So I agree with everything you said for sure. Like communication is so important as a producer, especially with what I do, because I'm often leading projects where I'm having to work all of the puzzle or the moving pieces and make sure that everybody in the pipeline is, doing what they're supposed to be doing, and everybody understands the brief, what the project is. So yeah, I feel like communication is so important for my role as a producer. Some of the challenges sometimes when it comes to like clients, there's a lot of clients that I get that I feel like they might not know how the music industry works, or maybe it's their first time ever needing custom music. So I kind of have to explain all the ins and outs. I feel like educating is one of the things that I do often with my clients, like explaining. It could be licensing, it could be the laws of music. Sometimes, like, I have brands that want a custom theme song that want to do like a rendition or a parody of a famous song, and I kind of have to explain all the laws and licensing around that. So I feel like that's one of my biggest things is just kind of educating them and bridging that gap and kind of explaining the expectation. And especially it depends on like what their budget is, because if they're trying to go fully broadcast ready with something that is already created, then you have to clear things, with publishing and licensing. So it's a whole process. So I kind of just explained that. I would say that's one of the biggest things for me. I feel like is educating my clientele. Um, Other things that I can think of would be just trying to show the value in the work that I do. And, sometimes clients might not recognize because I'm not a famous name. And just trying to show them that, hey, like we do work with major brands, we work on major projects, what the industry rates are, things like that. And like just, you know, being valued for the work that I'm providing. And for sure, those are some of my biggest two, I feel like.
Okay, so I heard the communication and the education portion of it. Um, that's a huge piece for you, making sure that your clients know about all the rules that need to be followed and the strategies that they want to have in order to have the right people listen to their music, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
And then number 2, communicating the value of what your service is worth.
Yes, yes, for sure.
Yeah, I agree with both of those. So, um, what have you done so far to try and help with communication and teaching and educating about like how licensing works or well, any of those things that you talked about? What have
Yeah.
you done so far?
So for me, it kind of depends on each client, because some clients are brands and some clients are like an artist, or I just have all different types of clientele that use music in different ways. So depending on what they are, is kind of how I explain it to them. And then what I usually do is I'll have like onboarding, like one-on-one meetings, or sometimes I even make little like 4 to 5 minute videos where I just kind of have a visual for them, and I just take them through this process and kind of explain it in a very expedited way. Um, and I kind of show them just so they have an idea of what other going rates are in the industry, if it's, related to the service itself, of the value of the service. And then show them, like what work I have done. Cause I feel like that's one thing with not being a super household brand. It's always great for me to show them, this is the work I've done. These are the brands I've worked for. And it kind of validates my business. So they know I'm not steering them wrong or trying to, like one up them or something. And just having that transparency, like, hey, I am committed to this. I am professional, and this is my passion, and I want to make sure I do a good job for you. Um, and then, like I said, as far as the education and strategy, that just entirely depends on what their needs are, and I kind of question them as I'm getting to know my client. So, like, I'll ask them, "Hey, what is the intended usage or purpose of this? What are you? What's your role in your company, et cetera?" And I just kind of uh, play it by ear and just see where they're at, and then I go from there.
I'd have to agree. That's a really great process because there's so many ways that I'm sure that you could help them or you could take that project. But until you really understand what it is that they really want to create, it's nearly impossible for you to hit the mark and make them
Yeah,
happy if you don't have a good understanding
yeah,
of what does happiness mean.
for sure. Yeah, absolutely. And that's one thing too. I'll say is that I love when a client is like super knowing what they are looking for. Like when they're super like they might include specific words, they might include references, like they'll send me like 3 to 4 references of songs they like, or they'll give me like a very descriptive like niche genre of, hey, we want something like this, and they'll give me timestamps, we need it 30 seconds, we need 60 seconds, and they kind of answer the questions that I would ask them. So it's like they make the process go even faster, because if they really know what they want, then it's really easy for me to just, you know immediately start and not have to kind of play it like, kind of show them something, because that happens too. Is, I've had projects that I've done for clients where I took the creative vision because they didn't give me any, they didn't give me something to go with. And then I'll send them something, and then they'll be like, oh, that's not what we wanted. Like, but you gave me a very vague, very broad term. And then like now you're trying to like nitpick it. But that's why it's really good, I feel like, for me and my team to be very specific in the beginning, because then I can really hit the mark, and it can be lot more accurate from the beginning process.
Yeah, I think I heard another pain point in there as you were talking about that, and that would be the creative differences,
Yeah,
right? And like, when two people don't agree on how a certain part should go, or just not having a good way to communicate why exactly you feel like the song needs to go in this particular way, and vice versa. Not everybody is like, I would say that the people that have written the song have emotional attachment sometimes to the way that particular
for
parts
sure.
go. I know I'm very guilty of that myself.
Me,
So then
I'm guilty
when
of
I'm
that too.
working with a producer and they're like, oh, well, do you think you'd maybe change this part? Like, how do you go about working with someone to convince them to see your side of the creative picture?
Yes. So what I like to do is I usually I'll have like in-depth conversations and messaging with them about why I did something a certain way or why I feel it should be this way instead of their way, maybe. Um, like I think of a few projects that I've done where even showing my internal team, like my friends and some of my like in-house collaborators, like we've had the same conversations where I have liked my version a lot better than I liked the client's ideal version. And sometimes I really just go with it if that's really what they're into. But other times if it's something I'm really trying to stick to my guns and I kind of tell them like, look, this is why it should be this way. Um, and I try to do it where it makes sense, and I try to always give the benefit of the doubt and stuff. But I have often people that have never worked in music, sometimes trying to direct music. You know what I mean? So you're having people that don't really have an experience in that field who are like trying to communicate to you, but they don't always know the proper terms and language to convey what they're trying, to tell you. So
Mhm.
um but for me, like I said, I feel like very transparent. Like I look, if I performed it this way, if I wrote it this way, there was most likely a reason for that being said. But I'm also open to input too, because there are times where a producer I work with or client I'll work with will say, how about we do, can you try it at this pace and maybe this speed, or maybe change this tone? And there's times where I do it and I'm receptive to their input, and I think it's actually turned out better. I believe that. But then vice versa, I've also had it be the other way where it's like I feel like it's turned out worse. So and then I think the most important thing to remember though in music is that so much of music and entertainment is subjective. What they're gonna like and what I like, it's almost like a taste buds. Like we all have different tastes, different things that we like. So just keeping an open mind and keeping a collaborative mindset, I feel like is really important in that process.
Recently finished a producer course written by Joe Marlett. And one of the things he said on this topic, which I totally agree with because I've learned it over and over again with managing people, and I really didn't think to use it in a collaboration music way before. And I don't know why, like, I never made the connection. But, they say that if you're going to share constructive criticism with someone, that you should sandwich it between compliments. And so in this course that I took, Joe had some examples of ways that, he was, first of all, listening to everything that was going on in the studio, not just like the music that was getting recorded, but the conversations that were going on around them. So he would compliment them with things like, oh, hey, that drum part that you just did, man, that really just sounds like insert favorite drummer name here.
Yeah,
Wow, I really can't believe that. Like, you got that part. It sounds so awesome. And so that really gets their confidence up.
yeah,
And maybe even give them another compliment at that point, because the more you can kind of layer that positivity, when that negative statement comes, it's not going to be so much like a blow. It's not going to feel like judgment. It's not going to feel like
yes,
it's you against me and we're going to have to fight for the death over who's right on this. It
yes.
becomes more like I see what you're doing here. It's good, but I think if you tried this, it could maybe even be better.
Yeah, yeah. I totally agree with that. I feel like that's one thing that I am very into as like when it comes to communicating with my clients, because I am always like super I feel like positive with them, like that reinforcement of positivity. Like even if we have disagreements, I always try to be respectful, polite, kind, and value their opinions and things. And I think that's super super important. and it definitely helps keep things smooth where it's not like abrasive and harsh, and it keeps the projects fun and interesting, because I have I have certain people that will ask for revisions sometimes that do it in a very rude and like unkind way. But then I have other clients that will work on like 4 to 5 different versions and they're super polite and super helpful. And it makes me want to be more a part of the project. And it's the same thing that I try to give them too. So it's like if I need anything from them, if I have any questions, if I want to show them my version, um, I'm always focused on that positivity. And that's another thing I want to say I do too is sometimes I will do their version and my version so they can hear the difference and then kind of select from A or B. And then it's like, now you really get to choose like whose do you want to go with. And I've had them pick my version. So it's something that I definitely include on a regular now. And I think that's really good what you said about the compliments and stuff too. And I try to give compliments and acknowledge their input when applicable for sure.
Awesome. So we're just kind of doing a short stream here today. I've got an event later on tonight, a musical prosperity forum. I'm going to put the link in the chat for any music producers that might be out there right now listening who have some pain points. Maybe we talked about some of them today. Maybe you can think of some other ones that you're really struggling with. One of the things I like to do in my communities, whether it's Heidzalyn Coaching, the Believe Retreat, or ETOPIA Festival, is I always like to ask the question when stuff starts to feel hard and difficult and frustrating and all of those negative emotions that just make you want to scream. And then I start asking, well, if this way is hard, what would be an easier way to do it?
Yeah.
And sometimes I can't always come up with those answers on my own. So I love having these kind of collaboration sessions with other people because this is the best way to brainstorm and start to come up with some new ideas to experiment with because you're never ever really stuck. But
Yeah.
sometimes the thoughts up here really can make you feel that way. And when you don't talk to someone outside of yourself, lots of time could go by before you even start
Yeah.
to do anything about it again. And you start to get that nagging feeling that like, oh, I've been putting something off. Procrastination. It's
Yeah.
another one of those pain points. And I also want to let you guys know that on Friday, we have a pop-up event with the Believe Retreat. It's at Asbury Arts Dance Studio in Lake Asbury. Asbury Arts Studio in Asbury Arts. That's all I wanted to say, but that's not it. In Lake Asbury. It's a small little town over by Green Cove Springs and Orange Park. So if you're around on Friday, join us at 7 p.m. Tickets are $10. And for everyone that attends, you get a chance to win a $25 gift card. But that's not all. At this event, I am going to be performing one of my songs for the first time. We're going to be hearing from Francine June, who's going to be telling us a little bit more about how you could share your story and have things published. And then we're going to this is the highlight of the whole evening. Our headliner is Joanna Tress. She has a beautiful voice, but she did not just decide to write songs. She put her songs together in a story, and she has a one-woman musical. And that musical is called Precious Gems, and she is going to be performing some of the songs from that musical on Friday night. So I hope you can join us. I'm going to put that link in the chat as well. And while I'm talking here, Josh, can you find your link? Because I want people to be able to get in contact with you in case they need any of your production services.
Awesome. Yes. Let me go. I'll put that in the chat as well.
Mm. So I've just put the Believe retreat link in the chat, and you'll get information about the Lake Asbury event, and you can buy tickets there. You'll also see information about our weekly live streams Tuesday at 4:30 and our upcoming in-person retreat. That ETOPIA Festival is teaming up to help produce. What happens with ETOPIA is we get a bunch of young people together, 16 to 24-year-olds, who are interested in creative industries. So that could be the film industry and doing video work. It could be audio engineering kind of type things, or running sound for events. It could also be the management part of things. How do you manage and put together a live event? What goes into all of the planning? How do you figure all of this stuff out? So that's what ETOPIA Festival is training the youth to do. It is a 10-week cohort with the Believe Retreat events is going to be kind of like the recital. They're going to get a chance to each participate in an area that interests them the most. And then after a final recap after that event, if they wish to get placed with a mentor in a particular field, they'll have that opportunity, or have an opportunity to join a future ETOPIA cohort. So with that being said, we're also looking for sponsors for these students. We have, I have about 8 to 12 girls that are pre-registered. So just depending on what their schedules are going to look like this summer will depend on whether or not they'll be able to participate, as well as if we have enough sponsors for all of them. So let me just put that link in the chat as well to tell you a little bit more about what we're doing with ETOPIA Festival and how you can sponsor. So I want to thank my co-host St. Josh for being here today. He's all the way out in Orlando, which is awesome. We're building this ETOPIA project out of Jacksonville, but ultimately we want to take this idea to all the big cities that are in
Yep.
the United States. And so Josh is one of our first team members that are outside of the Jacksonville area. And I'm really excited we're not that far away really as
Yeah.
two bigger cities to kind of combine between Jacksonville and Orlando and everything in between and start
Yeah.
building some awesome resources for our youth.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's super awesome. I'm always happy to meet with you and talk about these things. And I agree, just starting one city at a time. And I think Jacksonville, Orlando, and then we'll grow from there. Yeah.
So, I did record an interview last week. I'm not quite sure when that is going to go live yet, but keep an eye on your social media pages. I'll be making an event for that, so you know when that's going to come out. And we are also working on some video release parties for the 3 bands that performed at our first ETOPIA event back in August. Oh, I've been waiting so long to show these videos off, so I'm pretty excited about that. So stay tuned. We don't have a regular schedule yet, but we'll probably be showing up on Mondays
Yep.
and talking about stuff that makes it difficult to work in the music industry, and how do we make it a little bit easier to do all of these creative jobs.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, so until next time,